Alright, today we have these two bad boys in the house. We got the Fujifilm XH2s versus the Fujifilm XT5. These two cameras are the cameras with the latest X-Trans5 sensor and updated processor. The XH2s is a flagship camera, and because of the XH2, the Fujifilm XT5 is now considered a mid-tier camera. It offers almost what the XH2 offers, but in a smaller package. These two cameras are built different. The Fujifilm XT5 is much smaller in size when compared to the XH2s. The XH2s looks like a full-frame body. It reminds me in some ways of the Sony a7 IV, so there is some bulk to the XH2s. But with that bulk comes a professional-looking body. It has a hand grip that is much easier to hold than the XT5. And it has the spam dial with 7 custom presets you can program into the camera. It also has a top LCD display, which I find not to be useful for me, and the button layouts are totally different from the XT5. You have a dedicated ISO button on top. You also have a white balance and a custom button you can assign to any function, and as well a dedicated record button. Front wheel and the back wheel of the XH2s are not pressable like the Fujifilm XT5, so just keep that in mind. So if you're someone that is coming from the XT line to an XH2s, you're going to have to retrain your muscle on certain things. It's a learning curve, but I feel if you're someone that is coming from like the other brands like a Sony, a Panasonic, a Nikon, Canon, and etc., these button layouts will feel familiar to you. The XT5 is a camera that most Fuji users are gonna love. We got the retro dials that everybody seems to love with the XT line. This is where you can adjust your shutter, your ISO, and your exposure compensation. The smaller compact XT5 makes it easier to stow away in your bags. It makes it a much more inconspicuous tool when you're out on the street, and it won't draw any attention to yourself like the XH2s would. Both cameras are weather sealed, making them viable options for not so great weather conditions. I've tested out the weather sealing for the XH2s while I was in London, and let me tell you that it's good. I haven't tried anything yet for the XT5 since it's summertime and there's barely any rain where I live. The XT5 also has an MCS toggle switch, making it much more easier to switch from single point autofocusing to continuous autofocusing to manual focusing. The XH2s only has the button where the MCS toggle is, and you have to press it a few times to confirm your focusing mode. I find that to have much more steps than for me to just use the toggle switch to switch back and forth. The XT5 also has a 3-way tilt screen. It's great for photographers, whereas the XH2s has a flip-out screen, making it much more easier to monitor yourself or other people when you are filming. So this is really all depends on what you value more. They both have dual memory card slots, with the XH2s holds a CF Express Type B in one slot and the other is a SD slot, whereas the Fujifilm XT5 houses dual SD card slots. The CF Express Type B reads and writes so much faster than the fastest V90 SD cards, thus making the XH2s buffer clear more images and shoot at the highest quality videos without any hiccup. There are limitations for having SD cards while using the XT5s, such as the buffer starts to slow down after a few seconds of continuous bursts, something to keep in mind depending on what type of shooter you are. The EVF is much brighter on the XH2s with 5.76 million dots versus the XT5's 3.69 million dots. The viewing experience is definitely more pleasant on the XH2s, but the XT5 isn't so bad. The LCD screen is a different story though. The XH2s has 1.62 million dot LCD screen and the XT5 has a 1.84 million dot LCD screen. Both sport the same battery, the NPW235S battery, and I love this battery because it lasts so long on the field. When I'm out shooting photographs, I can get by with one battery for both cameras. If you're doing a full 8-hour day of filming on the XH2s, you can use up to anywhere from like 2 to 3 batteries. It all depends on what you're shooting and what frame rate you're shooting at, if it's 4K, 6.2K, 1080p. It also depends on the temperature of the day, so your mileage may vary. When I was in a studio for 8 hours, I went through like 2 batteries filming a variety of 6.2K and 4K 60 footage. Both cameras have IBIS, and both cameras' IBISs work very well for both photos and videos. The XH2s supports a full-size HDMI jack, whereas the XT5 has a micro HDMI jack. The XH2s sports a 26 megapixel stack sensor, whereas the XT5 is a 40 megapixel BSI sensor. Having a stack sensor means that you get faster readout. You can shoot bursts at 40 frames per second, blackout free. And it also has significantly better AF tracking in burst shooting and better rolling shutter performances. And because of the stack sensor, the XH2s can film 4K 60 without any crop. Although the XT5 sensor isn't stacked, you're still getting a 40 megapixel BSI sensor. The high resolution 40 megapixel X-Trans CMOS sensor has an enhanced image processing algorithm that boosts resolution without compromising the signal to noise ratio, delivering astonishing image quality. The XH2s is the clear winner in autofocusing here. Having a stacked sensor will smoke any camera with just one sensor. To me, the XH2s autofocusing works very well. It's very sticky, and with a 40 frames per second burst, you can rest assured you're not going to miss a single moment. The XT5, although not as blazingly quick like the XH2s, it still has a reliable autofocusing. It's not going to shoot as fast as the XH2s, but the AF can be reliable for general use cases. The only thing that is limiting the XT5's autofocusing is the buffer. And this is why the CF Express cards are great to clear out all the photos that are coming in, something that the XT5 does not have. On the video side, I really enjoy how sticky the XH2s tracking has been, tracking birds, cars, airplanes, and sticking to a person's face. And I find myself having no issues having the eye tracking in video on for the XT5. And I think it's done a surprisingly good job on doing that. The Fujifilm XT5 can film up to 6.2K 30p. However, this is coming in at a 1.23 times crop. It can also film 4K 60 at a 1.14 times crop, and it does not have open gate. The Fujifilm XH2s, however, can shoot up to 6.2K 30p open gate. It can shoot 4K 120, however, the 4K 120 takes a dip in quality, and it can shoot 4K 60 without any crop. Both can shoot in f-log2, however, the XT5's native ISO in f-log2 is ISO 1000, whereas the native ISO for the XH2s is ISO 1250. I think f-log2 footage is easy to work with in my opinion, and if I had to choose which video files I prefer, it would be the XH2s. It seems more pleasing to me and more cinematic in my eyes. But saying that does not diminish the videos coming out of the XT5. The XT5's video files also looks very great. And I do enjoy the look on both cameras. The Fujifilm XH2s can shoot ProRes internally, whereas the Fujifilm XT5 cannot. Both cameras have the ability to shoot in Apple ProRes RAW or the Blackmagic RAW with an external monitor, such as the Atomos Ninja V or the Blackmagic Assist monitor. The XT5 also has a red recording frame on the back of the LCD screen, and I'm still waiting on Fujifilm to provide us with a firmware update to implement this in their flagship camera, the XH2s. Let's move on to the photo aspects. I think both cameras do an amazing job in photography. You got the XH2s who can take beautiful 26 megapixel images with the Fuji colors that everybody's gonna love. You also got the XT5 that can take beautiful images with its 40 megapixel sensor, and it still has the Fuji colors that everybody loves. And if you were to ask me to pick which camera I would like to have for photography, I would pick the XT5. I think the colors on the XT5 produces a more rich color tone that I find pleasing to my eye. But honestly, once you edit everything on RAW, it's all gonna look the same. Everything starts to look the same. The 40 megapixel sensor is also great for printing and recropping your images. The 26 megapixel in today's age is more than enough. Don't buy into the hype and think you need all these megapixels, because I'm telling you, if I were to take photos from each of these cameras and mix it around for you in order for you guys to guess which shot which camera, chances are you're not going to know unless you have the ability to zoom in and look closely at the details. But other than that, both are capable stills camera and both can produce high quality images. So who are these cameras for? The Fujifilm XH2s is for video shooters first, but it can also take great photos. The XH2s is also a camera that is built for speed. So if you're someone that shoots sports, wildlife, action, you can benefit from using the stacked sensor and the better autofocusing tracking, and it's 40 frames per second blackout free to not miss a single moment. Also, if you're a filmmaker, video creator, the XH2s is better for you because of its video specs. You got the 6.2K open gate, you got the 4K 120, you got the 4K 60 no crop, ProRes recording internally, better rolling shutter performances, a full-size HDMI port, and etc. The XT5 is for photography first, but it has great video specs. If you're someone that wants a high-resolution sensor in a small compact body, because you find that the XH2 or the S is just too big for you, and you prefer the retro aesthetics from the XT line, and you like to be inconspicuous, you don't want the camera to draw any attention to you when you're out and about shooting. And if you're someone that wants a camera that takes great photos with some decent video specs that you perhaps want to dabble in the future, the XT5 is for you. Honestly, you can't go wrong with both these cameras. I enjoy shooting with both cameras, and I enjoy them both for different reasons. Whenever I want video, I'm taking out my XH2s, and it's been a wonderful beast of a camera producing videos for me. And don't get me wrong, I love the XH2s for photos as well. But the XT5 is my everyday walk around camera since it's smaller, it's less bulkier than the XH2s, and it doesn't look as intimidating as the XH2s. So I find myself using this more often to document my travels, document my life, and using it as a creative tool. I'm having a lot more fun using the XT5 as a photography camera than I did with my XH2. I love it for the fact that it's small and it's compact, and I like holding the smaller camera than I do my XH2s. The XH2s is coming in at $24.99 and the XT5 is coming in at $16.99. So at the end of the day, I can only inform you so much. It's still up to you guys to make a sound decision. I cannot decide that for you, so please, if you're curious, try to rent it out for yourself. I know Fujifilm has a touch and dry program in Canada and as well as in Portugal. I don't know if it's the same in America, but if there is one, I highly recommend you guys check that program out. What are your thoughts on the Fujifilm XT5 versus the XH2s? Which camera do you guys like more? Is it the Fujifilm XH2s or the Fujifilm XT5? Let me know in the comments below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if I did provide you with value, consider subscribing to my channel where I talk about Fujifilm. If you're interested in these two cameras, links are down in the description below. And as always, my name is Tongue, and I'll see you in the next video.